じゃあ最初はアメリカから来てもらったインギドットネットさんにっていう言い方もすごい変ですけどなんで彼がそういう名前かっていうのは多分出てくるかもしれませんけど、
Hello. Here we go. I'm Ingy döt, and my talk today is Kwiki and the Symlink. This is me. And I'm the first speaker, so I guess I'm the guinea pig today. So as Miyagawa was saying, unfortunately Larry can't be here. No Larry. No Damien. But unfortunately, okay. So I'd like to start off everything with a little poem, a little haiku that I wrote. Welcome to YAPC. Let insanity begin. Pearl in the house, yo. Now, I have a question for y'all. I don't know much about haiku. Can you shout a haiku? Is that okay? Can you scream it? Okay, because I want you all to scream. Let's all do it. 1, 2, 3. Welcome to YAPC. Let insanity begin. Pearl in the house, yo! Okay, I have some more poetry. Ingy 2.0, Kwiki 2.0 as well. ORZ hackers. Kwiki to Japan. Ingy shows 2.0 stuff. A topic for spring. Haiku is okay, but Ingy likes limericks. Please let me explain. That one got a little messed up. Last minute slide hacking. So here's a limerick. The poetry known as haiku leaves a hacker with too much to do. The minding of syllables, I'd rather watch Killables. Kill Bill has far better kung fu. Ingy döt was a man who hacked on weird plan after plan. But as hard as he tried, his ideas always died. But at least he is big in Japan. There once was a hacker named Ingy. That darn YAPC wiki, his thingy. He went to Japan, and he got a great tan when they sent him back home in a dinghy. This Ingy, it often was said, would hack all day in his bed. But the harder he hacked, the weirder and whacked were his hacks. Oh my God, ORZ. Okay, so sometimes the coolest stuff, the best stuff, is actually the old stuff. And the old stuff is the best stuff. Maybe your old stuff isn't shiny anymore, but if you give it a little polishing, spiffy it up, so to speak, then you can just call it 2.0. So last year I made 2 big 2.0 upgrades in my life. Brian Ingerson, legally Ingy.net. Old is new again. So last September, I legally changed my name to Ingy.net. Last year, I became Ingy.net before YAPC, but I had to do all the legalities. And now, I've changed it. Ingy is my first name. .net is my last name. Dot is not my middle name. So there you can see, I don't have a laser pointer, but you can see that this is the legal Washington name change form from Brian Anderson to Ingy.net with the official seal of the state. Let's see. But actually, Ingy.net is not my real name. It's only my legal name. My real name is Ingy döt. But unfortunately, in the United States, and actually, it's probably based off of YAPC, if anybody knows what that is. I know MJD does. Okay, but my name was designed to degrade gracefully in different situations and different locales. So in a fully compliant environment, I'm Ingy.net, döt. But in reality, it ends up taking many forms. So here's my new passport, yay. Actually, this passport, I wasn't even going to come because I only received this passport 2 weeks ago. And I told myself if I did not receive it on this certain day, I would not come, and it came that night. So it was meant to be. Yes, Ingy. So here's the form that Ava Air thinks I need to use. .net Ingy. All the airlines want me to do this for some reason. And then, of course, if I want to use a wiki, this is how I would prefer my name to be. Ingy.net. But sometimes things are not so graceful. Sometimes things just go wrong. So I ordered a book from Amazon.com, and when I received it, this was on my billing statement. And then I got this by UPS. UPS, they just dropped it all together. At my bank, now this is how I know that the mail that I get is not actually from my bank, but affiliates of my bank who my bank has sold my name to, even though they swore that they would not sell my name to anybody. I get mail in all kinds of forms. It's my spam filter. My mother still thinks my name is Ingy.net. All my mail from her comes this way. And sometimes I just become Ingy.net. ORZ. So at this grocery store that I go to, is right by my house. It's a Safeway. And every time they look at your receipt and they say, "Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Tong." And so to me, they just say, one time they said, "Thank you, Mr. .net," but they usually say, "Thank you, Mr. Net," or they say, okay. So the second big thing I changed last year was Kwiki. So Kwiki is actually kind of special to YAPC because at the first YAPC Asia, I presented on Kwiki, and that was 4 years ago now, I believe, in Taipei. There once was a project called Kwiki, whose maintenance proved to be tricky. To make the thing go, they tacked on 2.0, and now it's one heck of a wiki. So I like to think of Kwiki as to wiki as Perl is to programming. Kwiki is not a wiki. Kwiki is really just a fun Lego set of pieces that you can put together and unexpected things happen. Hopefully non-crashing unexpected things. And Kwiki is also about building a community. Although it's a very small community now. So this is Kwiki 1.0. But Kwiki 1.0 was pretty successful. The idea of Kwiki was maybe 1,000 plugins, 10,000 plugins, but we have 150, and that was pretty good from different people just contributing, and with almost no help from me, sometimes help from me, but usually just people go off and do it. So I consider that a success. But Kwiki 038, the last release of Kwiki, was April 2005, 2 years ago. So Kwiki was a little bit too stable, where stable kind of equals dead. But you know, being dead is really not so bad, depending on your perspective. Because then you can be reborn. Enter Kwiki 2.0. So in December, after I got done with all the stuff with my name change, I decided to work on something else and bring Kwiki back to life. I figured Kwiki is pretty good, maybe I'll just polish it up a little. So I started a brand new Kwiki.org, and if you go to Kwiki.org, it's a whole new site, much nicer. And I actually used Track to plan Kwiki. Now Track is also a wiki, but that's cool, because it's a wiki that I don't have to hack on to make it work when it's busted. I just expect it to work, and it does. And it helps me, I think even Jifty now uses Track, is that right? Audrey says she does all of her projects. Oh, Pugs. Pugs. Well, Pugs is a wiki too. Well, Pugs is Perl, and Perl is everything, and a wiki is part of everything. Therefore, Pugs is a wiki. I moved everything into a new SVN repo and reorganized that. And then I got on Pound Kwiki, and I said, whoever wants to join me, come along. So the big change that I made was I decided to move away from CPAN for a while, just for a while. CPAN, when you have 150 moving parts, and they're all pretty stable and already working, you don't really just want to go messing with it when you want to change everything. So the CPAN version still works, but it's from April 2005. But the SVN is where the action is happening. So here were the problems that I wanted to do for Kwiki 2.0. Now Kwiki 2.0 is not really version 2.0, it's just a stupid name. But it's a name that got everybody working on Kwiki, so it's something to rally around. So the problems were too many modules to install. Audrey used to call Kwiki slowy because it was so slow. There's very little documentation because it was written by hackers. There's too many plugins to choose from somebody that just wants to install it. They don't know which plugins should fit together. And to tell the truth, there were some bad abstractions. When you start off on a project, I tend to make abstractions for everything, and some of those turn out to be bad. So we can fix the bad ones. So here's my focus. For too many modules, I make Kwiki easy to install. For slowy, I make it fasty. For documentation, we document it. When there's too many plugins to choose, I came up with a concept called flavors. I'll talk about that in a second. And for the bad abstraction, I came up with a way to keep the old but add the new. And this is the Kwiki bootstrapping module, and which means now there is more than one way to bootstrap Kwiki. So the Kwiki 2.0 on SVN comes with over 500 Perl modules. So that's a lot to install. You might say, there's no way I will install Kwiki. But Kwiki takes less than 1 minute to install, because this is how you do it. You do a subversion checkout. The subversion checkout will probably take longer than 1 minute. But after that, all you have to do is export path to the bin in Kwiki trunk, and that's it. Kwiki is installed completely, done. Oh, and you get Spork for free. Okay, so the great thing about all of the modules in and Kwiki are pure Perl. So they, well, I think that's the next slide. But so this is how you would set up a new Kwiki. And let's do that right now. We'll go. It's just testing it. So we'll do this. Kwiki new, YAPC, to, yo. And then go over here. Never do a live demo. Yeah, it just works. Cancel, quickly. But Kwiki is really easy to use. I mean, you generate a new site with Kwiki new. You generate or you take a plugins file and add the plugins you want, and then you do a Kwiki update. And it even comes with its own built-in server, so you can say Kwiki start, and it starts. So you don't even need a web server. So it also has the easiest software upgrade instructions possible. Just do SVN up. So here's how I reorganized everything. First of all, I went out and found every Kwiki plugin I could find. Now, they're not all on CPAN. There were a lot of them were in the old Kwiki Subversion repositories. There were some on CPAN that never got onto the Kwiki site. There were some lying around on my hard drives on different machines that I found. And then some other people had ones laying on their hard drives. I got everybody to give me every Kwiki module that I possibly know of, and I put them all in one Subversion repository. Now, I did that so that everybody would still have their own areas. So Miyagawa's modules are still under Miyagawa, and he has control. Nobody can update Miyagawa's modules. I can, actually, but nobody else. And then maybe Gugad, but nobody else. And then I stole a bunch of stuff from my work from Social Text, because that was based off of Kwiki originally, so I dumped some of that stuff in there. And all of these modules are pre-installed. So what I did was I made a big Symlink tree. Now I have all of the packages intact in their original form. If they were tarballs, I expanded them and checked those in. And then I have a make file that will actually scan the whole thing and rebuild the Symlink tree into something called lib. And then the Kwiki processes know where to find the lib. So nothing actually gets installed in your Perl libraries. Now that could be a really good thing, because you can install Kwiki, decide that you want to get rid of it, and uninstall it just by deleting one directory, and you haven't upgraded modules that maybe your system was depending on or something like that. You can do everything in your home directory without any root permissions too. So that means installing Kwiki has 0 Perl dependencies. I think that's really cool. And I think that was maybe one of the biggest complaints about Kwiki, is that it was getting too many dependencies. Installing Kwiki should have 0 impact on your system. And it's pretty much guaranteed to work unless you're giving a live demo. But there's a problem with Symlinks. They don't work on Windows. Well, neither does Kwiki. Kwiki is a server app, and Unix is for servers. And what I forgot to write here is Kwiki is for fun, and Windows is just not fun. Also, Kwiki requires Perl 5.8.3. All of the Perls before that, except for one, were not fun either. Why make life so hard? If you just get no CPAN, no old Perl, and no Windows, everything is easy and fun. Just like. So the second thing we did was make Kwiki faster. In this, actually, we did 2 things. The slowest point was actually parsing pages tended to be quite slow. And I fixed that by adding a caching routine. But now I'm actually rewriting the parser, so that won't even be needed. The new parser is blazingly fast. But the best possible thing for Kwiki that happened in 2.0 is Miyagawa-san wrote Kwiki fast CGI. sitting by my side in about half an hour. And it just totally rocks. It just instantly makes Kwiki faster. And fast CGI is really cool. It's so nice when you can write a slow application for years, and then in 1/2 hour, it becomes fasty from slowy. So here is what the indexed CGI looks like for Kwiki. It's 2 lines. Use Kwiki boot, and then you call this bootstrapping line. And that's everything. And this is the same thing with fast CGI. You just use fast CGI and do a loop, grabbing new fast CGI objects. So simple, and it just works. And I won't demonstrate it, because it would definitely not work. Okay, so the third thing we did was add documentation to Kwiki. Now, I wasn't actually going to write any documentation, but what I was going to do was facilitate making that. So we started something called Doolittle. Doolittle is the man who could speak to the animals, but it also means that Ingy has to do very little to get documentation for Kwiki. So I wrote a new formatter that would, for Kwiki, that actually allows you to write pages in pod instead of wiki markup. And actually, I wrote something called Doolittle formatter that auto-detects whether it's in Kwiki format or pod and just does the right thing. So, and then I went through all of these modules. Now, I don't know how many of the 500 modules, let's say 350 Kwiki modules, and pulled all of the documentation out of them. Now, that's kind of maybe wrong. You can't do that on CPAN. You can't just go reorganize everybody's modules. But on Subversion, I could, and I did it. I just pulled all the doc out. But I only pulled it out because when I'm done with the project, I will have a make process that puts it back in and actually updates things like the year of copyright and things like that. And then I used the Symlink again to make a big Kwiki database of all the docs. So now, when you go to Doolittle and actually add documentation to the system that you're reading or make changes or spelling checks, you're actually checking in to the code that gets shipped with every SVN installation. So it's exactly what you want for documentation. In fact, I'd like to set this up for Perl as well, so that we have a Perl doc site so people can read Perl doc and then decide they want to change it and add stuff, and then it goes right back as a core patch. Or if we ever got Perl onto Subversion, you know, it would just get checked in somehow. I think we have people with source control knowledge. I'll have to ask them. Okay, so the fourth thing that we did was, when you install Kwiki, you have 150 plugins or more. That's just the distribution, so you actually have more. And you don't know which ones are the good ones, the bad ones, and where to start. But wouldn't it be nice if you said, ooh, I like that guy's wiki. I want the exact same configuration as him. Well, now you can check in configurations as a flavor, and your Kwiki can basically inherit from known flavors. And then in your directory, your Kwiki directory, you can add more flavors. And you can actually take a configuration that's an inheritance of another configuration, call that a flavor, and then keep adding. So now, Kwiki directories are actually inheritable. All of these things follow an actual Symlink chain of paths from your Kwiki directory up to its flavor. The flavor has a base. You can say, ooh, I want these 5 wikis to be configured this way, so you could actually put a layer in between the flavors and your 5 wikis, and this 5, put another layer in. And you just change the things that need to be changed for that layer. So it's a very nice use of inheritance outside of programming. You can do it for JavaScript, for the plugins file for configuration, your templates, your theme. There's about 5 other things. I just didn't bother looking last night, but everything is inheritable this way. And then also, one of the features of Kwiki is that you can make a sub-wiki. And some people know this, but most people don't. Under your wiki, you can actually make a new view and configure it differently. And that's what we do for adding admin plugins and that kind of thing. So in the new model, that sub-wiki just inherits from the wiki rather than having, we did a bunch of trickery before, but now it's just an inheritance model. The way I do this, and it's pretty clever, is that every level has a www directory. Now, I did that because I wanted the URLs to have inheritance, right? So the URLs can look like this. Now, the URLs, you cannot fish for things that are not web files. So your templates, you can't go fishing through, and the code you can't go fishing through like you can on Kwiki now. I wanted to fix that. So basically, under every www, there's a dash that's like an updir to another www. And they form this chain. So actually, if we were to look at the source for, let me actually, this isn't going to work, is it? Never mind. No live demo. And there's a new module called Kwiki Paths that knows how to look everything up and does all the inheritance for me. So the deal is, though, I can't just add all this new behavior to the old wikis because I have to keep supporting all of the old configuration. So what I did was I wrote, and this was the final thing that I did with Kwiki, is write Kwiki boot. So I put all of the startup code to start up a Kwiki process in Kwiki boot version 1. And that works exactly as Kwiki did before I started all this. And that will always work that way. So you can always keep going. If a Kwiki is not marked to be using a certain bootstrap, it always assumes version 1. So everything will keep working, but you can upgrade to version 2 or any other bootstrapping version. So V2 contains a different set of core plugins. All that flavor stuff that I was just talking about is in boot V2. And you could also write your own bootstrapping module. You probably would never do that, but you could. So how do you actually set up a new wiki right now using V2? I use environment variables for a lot of things in Kwiki now. So when you do, what you do is set an environment variable, Kwiki boot V2, and then just do your regular Kwiki new command. Now after you do that, it will cache that value, and then you can just say Kwiki update. From then on, it's cached in a file. Let me actually show you that. So, live demo coming up. I guarantee it will not work. See? It totally doesn't work. So, okay. The final thing I wanted to say about Kwiki is that it came with Spork, and I decided, right before, every time I've given a talk so far at YAPC Asia, which is my 4th year now, I've written a new slideshow system. Well, the first year I wrote Spork, and then the second year I did something crazy with Spork, and then last year I wrote Sporkahashi. And this year I decided to go back to old school Spork, but I rewrote the whole parsing algorithm last night between 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning. And these slides were all done using that. Now, could I see the man who translated my slides? I promise I won't hit you. Who translated my slides?
He's not here.
New York City?
He's translating from New York City.
Oh. Anyway, it was really cool. I'll give a live demo. Hold on. So these are all of my slides. All he did, I told him I posted them on this wiki that we were supposed to do, and I said, take all of the lines in the slide and just put a pound on the line in front of the translation. And so he did this, and then I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning and said, okay, now how do I turn this into something that looks good on the screen? Because Spork does not yet do this. So what I came up with was, if you look at the bullet points, he didn't add the bullet points, but I just added those in. And what I did was strip out all of the lines that contain hashes in the front, strip off the hashes, and then format 2 slides, and then feed them both to Template Toolkit, and Template Toolkit says, oh, if I see 2 slides, put the one on the left and then the translation on the right with the reverse video. And it was very cool because I didn't have to touch this file at all except to add little tweaks. I didn't move any of the lines. They're exactly as the translator typed. So I hope they made sense, except for that one haiku where I flipped the lines. But yeah, and then, so Spork has always been a Kwiki-related project because they both inherit from the same framework, even though nothing else inherits from that framework that I know of. But now I've moved all the Spork code also into K2, so when you install it, you just get it. So you can, if you have Kwiki on your system, you can just say Spork new and get all the new stuff. So now that I'm in full Kwiki mode again, what are my future plans? I want to, for Wikimania, I hope to come to Taiwan in the summer and go to Wikimania, and I hope to have a version of MediaWiki written in Kwiki. At the hackathon this week, I'll write a whole new formatter that it will be so powerful that you can just configure your own syntax language. So every wiki you could just say, oh, I want bold from this, and I want headings from this language, and all the styles will be built in, and you can just say, oh, I want triple dashes for my bolding, and I want equals equals on both sides for whatever. And you can just either, there'll be all different kinds of flavors of Kwiki markup, or you can build your own very easily. And eventually what I want to do, hopefully maybe by the end of the summer, is get, or maybe sooner, is get everything rebuilt back into CPAN. So actually, one thing I will also do this week is write at least one Kwiki module in Perl 6. And that's actually something that I'll start, when I'm done with that, it'll be hopefully easy to write Kwiki modules in Perl 6. Because I think Perl 6 needs some real projects like this, some real fun projects. Okay, the end draweth nigh. Kwiki loves you. Love her back. Have you a question?
はい。質問ありますか？はい。まだ時間ちょっとあるんで。
Right, then,
すいません。They're recording, so I needed a microphone. The question was, when you're going to release Wikipedia?
Well, Wikipedia is only for haiku and limericks, so it has a very limited audience, but very soon, very soon.
だそうです。
他にはありますか？日本語で質問しても大丈夫です。通訳しますね。はい。
Hi. Can you hear me? Do you want to translate?
いや、仕事でカタリストとか使ってて、インストールするのは結構めんどくさいんですけど、そのインキのやってる方法をカタリストの人たちに教えてあげたら簡単になりますかっていう質問です。
So that's a very good question. To me, that was a great, the idea of having all these modules pre-installed and just instantly working. Kwiki does use some C modules, but they're the ones built into Perl. And actually, if you want to use fancy ones, you can install them yourselves. But for almost the lion's share of what you want to do and everything out of the box, it just works. So can you apply this to other things? Well, I'm actually trying to do that at my work. I work for Social Text, and we have an open source wiki. And I guess it takes about 7 or 8 days to install. It's almost impossible to install. So nobody's really using it as an open source wiki, but mostly it's just all this Perl module installation. So I think that's a great idea, and I was going to actually help Jesse out with Jifty, but maybe they have another way of doing it, but maybe the Catalyst people could benefit from that. I'd love to share it. Very good question.
とってもいい質問で、彼は仕事でソーシャルテキストっていう、ウィキの会社に勤めていて、でそのソーシャルテキストのウィキもオープンソースに最近なったんですけど、インストールするのに7日か8日ぐらいかかるようなシステムなんで、同じようなことをやろうとしたりとかして、ちょっと忘れちゃったけど、I just say, how do you do for a social text? Do you do the same thing for a social text as well?
The question from Miyagawa was, what?
I mean, I missed the translation a little bit. Did you
Oh,
the same Symlink stuff to social text?
right. So right now I'm trying to apply the same Symlink stuff to social text so that it will install quickly.
仕事でも同じことをやろうとしたりとかして、他のプロジェクトでもそういうのに興味があれば、そういうテクニックを、ノウハウを共有しても面白いかもしれないですね。はい、他にも、何かありましたらお願いします。もう一つぐらい、もう二つぐらいいけると思うんで。
One more question? Is that a question?
No.
You raised your hand. You must ask a question.
No, he's called for a raise on hands.
Oh, okay.
Okay, maybe that's it. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.